I'm going to put as much effort into this video as Google have with the new Pixel 11 Pro and the Pro XL, which I've been testing here. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time right here on the Tech Chat. Are we being a bit unreasonable with how much of an upgrade we expect from phones each year? I mean, Apple we criticize, Samsung we criticize. I think the most innovative brands right now are from China like Oppo and Xiaomi and Honor. But when it comes to the Pixel, hello by the way, this is the 11 Pro XL, which I've been using for a few weeks. I think there's been a particular backlash because it's just not seen as much of an upgrade at all, and yet it's also more expensive. The base RAM has been dropped from 16 down to 12 gigabytes because of the memory crisis. You've probably heard of it. So where does that leave us? Is this actually worth buying? Well, I'm not sure. I love a Pixel. This is what's frustrating to me. I genuinely love a Pixel. I think they're incredibly comfortable. I think they look great. I mean, look at this color. That's fantastic. I've even got the new pistachio Pro Fold as well. Really, really gorgeous phones. And you know the deal, stock Android. It's one of the first to get updates. You've got really good support. The cameras are very good and even better this year. Brighter screen, new chip, new modem, slightly refined design. They've taken what was already a very nice phone, this is the Pixel 10 Pro XL, and made it a little bit better, but not much. And it is 100 quid more, although you do get double the storage as standard, 256 versus 128, although less RAM. They've also replaced the temperature sensor with this new horribly named HiLight LED, which does exactly two things right now. It does not show notifications, it does not blink red when you record video, which it absolutely should. You can basically customize certain contacts to have certain colors, so Mrs. Tech Chap, she loves purple. And also when you talk to Gemini or Glow to make it look like it has a soul. Actually, there is one more use for the HiLight. In the camera, we got a 10-second timer there. Take a picture. You can see the little countdown. There you go. It has also replaced the flash for the camera, but as a fancy, colorful light, it's pretty much just for Gemini. Although isn't the idea that if you have your phone face down, you don't want to interact with your phone? No, you're not looking at the screen. If I'm now talking to Gemini like this, why am I talking to Gemini like this? Chances are I'm going to actually be picking it up and talking to it or using it with the screen. I really want to love and even, dare I say, switch to a Pixel because historically they've been really good value, really good cameras, stock Android. That combination has made these terrific, but now we see silly features like this. We see incremental, if any, real upgrades to the chip and the battery and the modem, more and all that stuff in a second. But then more and more it just feels like a vehicle for Gemini, and Samsung gets some of the best new features before this does now, and it's expensive, even more expensive in fact. In the UK, this Pixel 11 Pro XL will cost you $12.79 if you buy it outright. The S26 Ultra, $11.29. The iPhone 17 Pro Max, $11.99. So let me get this right, the iPhone is about £80 cheaper, the S26 Ultra is about £150 cheaper than a new base Pixel 11 Pro XL. Between the three, first of all, which would you go for? But the fact that between the three, this is the most expensive just seems a bit weird to me. I know we're in a memory crisis, and maybe this is the first of the phones from the big brands to really jack up the price, and we will see most likely increases from Apple and Samsung later in the year and early next year as well. But it just makes this harder to recommend. But price and value to one side, let's talk about the best bit of this new Pixel, the camera. And straight away, let's do a little blind test to see if you can spot the difference between last year's phone and the new one. Which is A, which is B? Now, it may not be glaringly obvious when taking photos in good light with the main camera or 1x, but what if we punch into 5 times, or 10 times, or 30 times, and 100 times? That might give it away. Essentially, there are 4 camera upgrades. You've got the better zoom quality, we've got faster and better low light shots, this brand new looks mode, which is kind of like iPhone's photography styles, which goes beyond just a basic filter and actually reduces the processing and can give you much more interesting, more stylistic shots, less like it's shot on phone. I also really like this new magic capture mode. It's very much like the single take that Samsung introduced a few years ago, where you just press the button, it starts recording, and it'll capture photos and videos and selfies in vertical and in landscape. It's for those times where you're not sure what mode you want to shoot in. I'm not sure how often I would use this, but for a more casual user, not having to worry about different modes and things is actually really neat, particularly when the camera app looks like this. Can we talk about how complicated and cluttered the camera app is? Like, we've got this settings menu, we've got this menu down here for these. We've got this menu up here, which I think does the same thing as the one down there. Swiping up also brings you basically the same menu. And you can see down here, switching between photo and video, it's the tiniest icons. It's just not the most intuitive. Hey, to be fair, this is not a bad old spot for a bit of camera testing. I mean, we've got the moat of the Bishop's Palace. We've got the Wells Cathedral. If I punch into 5x up there. We've got birds. And if I do punch in, we've got these guys playing with pigeons, which I'm going to leave them to it. But actually what I can show you is the jump from 4x to 5x. That's when, well, they're dabbing with pigeons now. It's getting weird. You can see the optical telephoto lens kick in at 5x. And it makes a heck of a difference. Back to ultra-wide. But the new Pixel's camera really is a solid upgrade. I'm not sure I was expecting this. You can see the difference in the skin tones, the more natural color. It's less noisy while also being sharper. But it doesn't have that kind of over-sharpening, over-processed look that the Pixel 10 and previous Pixels would have. Although specs-wise, the main camera is pretty similar. It's the same 50 megapixels, same sensor size. The ultra-wide and selfie are largely unchanged. Although we will see some benefit from the newer ISP on the Tensor G6 chip. But the big upgrade this year, really, is with the 5x telephoto lens, which has a much bigger sensor. It's around a third larger. Telephoto portrait mode is now supported, and you can punch in all the way up to 120 times with the Pro Zoom, up from 100 times. Although I'm not entirely sure how often you do that, but it does look a lot better, thanks to quite a lot of generative AI. And night sight, which is Pixel's night mode, is much faster, around 3 times faster, they say on average. A quicker night mode means less chance for your subject to move and become a blurry mess. But I will say credit where it's due with the camera. This is a significant step up. But how about video? I'm recording this on last year's Pixel 10 Pro XL in the settings you would use for low light, 4K 30, and with video boost. That's where it takes your footage and then sends it up to the cloud, upscales it, improves the stabilization, the low light quality, and then several hours later comes back down and gives you a better video. So this is all shot on the 10 Pro XL. Let's switch to the new one. Ooh, okay, hello. So yes, this is now being shot 4K 30 video boost on a Pixel 11 Pro XL. I should say both the Pro and the XL have the same cameras. It's literally just a screen size and battery difference. Hopefully, if it's anything like the photos in terms of the improvement we're seeing, better skin tones, less noise. I'm looking at the back of the phone, so you're going to have to tell me. Let's talk about what's going on the inside here with the new Tensor G6 chip. Can it compete with the latest Snapdragon? Well, the answer is, of course, no. But let me at least show you my workings. On the left here, we've got last year's Pixel, we've got the new one in the middle, and we've got the Galaxy S26 Ultra on the right. Now, this is Geekbench 7. I know this is very reductive, but it just gives a bit of an idea of how on paper they compare. And actually, interestingly, the new G6 is about 13% faster in single core and almost 20% faster in multi-core. But compared to the Samsung, it's about a third slower. Let me just show you one more quick test. This is Steel Nomad Lite within 3D Mark. With the new Pixel, almost 20% faster than last year, which is solid, but nearly 60% slower than the Samsung. But who cares? Why does any of this matter? Well, firstly, let's put to bed some of the rumors that the new G6 is slower than the G5. According to my tests and experience, that is not the case. The G6 is a step up. And while the numbers may not be that impressive, it is incredibly fast and responsive. It's not really about day-to-day performance anymore because they're all incredibly quick. It's more about long-term performance. If you're going to use this for the next 4, 5, 6 years, how is that performance going to translate to new apps and games in the future? And is it going to slow down? Because even now, in the most demanding games, the Pixel is noticeably slower. We get frame drops and a bit of lag. Whereas the S26 Ultra is just flawlessly fast. You can whack everything to maximum and you're maxing out the frame rate. And if we fire up War Thunder, not only does the Samsung perform better, but it also has a ray tracing option, which is completely absent on the new Pixel. So does the average performance really matter? No, not to most of us most of the time. But considering this Pixel is 6 months newer than the Samsung and also more expensive, and Google have reduced the amount of RAM on the base model, it's just a bit frustrating. But it's also the efficiency of the chip, and that can have a massive impact on the battery life. So speaking of the battery, is it any better? Well, the answer is No, not really. In fact, the capacity, the battery size is a little bit smaller, like 85 milliamp hours smaller than last year, not a significant amount. Google say this will last longer in certain local video tests, but in my own testing, it is more or less the same as last year. The battery life is fine. You will easily get a full day out of this, maybe a little bit more if you ration it the next day. I need to do a full flagship test, and maybe I'll wait for the new iPhones to do this, a proper battery rundown. But historically speaking, the Pixels have either come last or second to last, and I don't think this will be faring much better. And it's just frustrating because the Tensor's clearly not contributing to much improvement to battery life through efficiency. We're not seeing any kind of silicon carbon chemistry with the battery. Even Samsung with the Fold 8 has added a silicon anode to the battery. We're getting there. We're getting much bigger batteries. And I suspect next year's S27 Ultra will do something similar. Most other flagship phones will give you a longer battery life, and that isn't ideal. Although, to be fair, we get decent charging, 45-watt wired, and new upgraded Qi 2.2. So, of course, the magnets are built in. You do have access to magnetic peripherals, including Google's own Pixel Snap, also MagSafe. So I can pop this on my charger, I can pop it onto my neckband for filming. Having the magnets built in and Qi 2.2 wireless charging is a thumbs up. What I was more interested in, though, is the modem, because this doesn't get talked about a lot, but actually a real bugbear of mine, bugbear, is that the right, do people say bugbear? A real issue I've had with Pixels is the connectivity. Mrs. Tech Chap, who uses a Pixel, and me, who goes usually between a Samsung and an iPhone, just generally, her signal is almost always worse. And the last few generations of Pixels have used Exynos modems. Now this uses a MediaTek modem. Now on paper, it should be a fair bit better. In my little test, which I've done here, because I get terrible signal here, I get about 2 bars of 4G. But that's kind of where it's important to see if mobile data is better, you know, if you get a stronger connection. And turning off Wi-Fi, I ran the same speed test on last year's phone and the new one was slower almost every time in terms of the download and upload speeds. I tested it again the next day with a different app. On paper, this is an upgrade, and according to some of the numbers I'm seeing, it does appear to have a slightly stronger signal. But at least in my experience so far, it's not really the improvement I was hoping for. One of the other headline upgrades is the boost to screen brightness. We've gone from 3300 nits of peak HDR brightness to 3600. And either way, both phones are very usable in sunlight, although I wouldn't say no to a bit more of an anti-reflective screen like we have on the S26 Ultra, and to a lesser extent the latest iPhones. Now, of course, this would not be a new Pixel launch without some fancy new AI features, and I reckon this new Google Rambler is the most interesting. It's basically a super-powered Gboard using Gemini, which allows it to transcribe your speech more accurately and just with more natural language. And the results, well, have a look for yourself.
I do like a Pixel, though. I'm excited to try it, but you know, hopefully this isn't a long rambling message of which, of course, all transcriptions and voice notes generally are. So let's see how my rambling is dealt with by the Rambler. That's actually really good. It's perfectly succinct. I could send that. Good job, Pixel.
While I'm giving it a little bit of crap for not being a major upgrade year on year, no one's really upgrading their phones every year, and if you're coming from a 2, 3, 4-year-old phone, this is going to be really good. So what do you think of the new Pixel 11 Pro and the XL? Would you buy one? Have you already bought one? Let me know what you make of this in the comments. A cheeky thumbs up and subscribe would be fantastic if you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you next time right here on the Tech Chat.